So we're going to look at aggregation. So aggregation function now collapse multiple rows into a single result. So we have something like count, sum, average, mean, max. So these are queries now like behind every dashboard now, every report, every analytics screen that you've ever seen. These are the things behind them, right? So we're going to see how these work in the query. So it's just going to be something like select. So we have count here, right? Then I'm going to have this my star. So I want to count as total users from users. Right. So here now I'm using the count right here. So if I should go ahead and run this right here. So here now I'm getting 5. And the total users we have in this table is 5, right? But if I want to say we want to check for how many orders per user. So how many orders per user here now? So I can say, let's use another query for this. Select users dot name, right? Then I want to count for orders ID. So I want to count for orders ID. So I'll just go with this and I'll change this to orders. Then orders.id as order count. So I want to count it like as order count right there. Then I now have from users now. I want to do something. I want to say left join now. Left join orders on user.id equals to order.user ID itself. So left join orders on user.id equals to orders.user ID itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and say now I want to group this by the user ID itself and username. Users.name. So if I want to get every the user has, and I want to order these things well. So I'm just going to order it by order count in descending order. So you see that this is logic that can happen behind the scene of your e-commerce application. Right. So this is where we start from. So if we should run this code now, there should pop. So here now we can see that Drew has 3 orders, Sam had 2, Alex, Jordan, and Morgan. So we can see that count rows right here, group by makes the aggregation work. It says calculate this count separately for each unique value of this column. Without group by, count would have collapsed everything into one number. So it's because we group them. That's why it's making them that the number is unique to every user itself. So we can get 1 row per user and per individual. And if you notice that Morgan has 0 orders here, so left joins keep the result there. If you have used inner join here now, Morgan will have disappeared entirely. So don't forget, left join will still show you even the empty value, but just put a placeholder of none right there. So let's quickly take a quick look at sum and average, right? So when we say sum and average, the aggregations to sum and average now. So let's say we want to see a total revenue per user for this e-commerce application now. What we are going to do is we are going to have a select here now. And for this select, we are going to have something like users.name. Then after this user.name, we want to have sum orders.total, right? We want to have orders.total. Then we want to have this as, let's have it as total spent, right? This is all right. Then I want to have like orders.id. I want to have count. orders.id as total orders. Then I want to have something like, okay, now I want to have the average now. Orders.total as average order value itself. Right. So I cannot come here now and say from users. So from users, we want to say left join. So I want to say left join orders. They want to say on right here now. On users dot id is equals to orders dot user id itself. So here now you cannot come here now and say group by. So I want to group by this by user dot id, then the users dot name itself. I cannot come here now and say finally order by total spent in descending order. Then we cannot add a bit of more trick here. No, this might be new to you, but I want to have the nouns to be last. So when I'm ordering this now, you can see that. Okay, let's run this now. You can see. Okay, this was meant to be commented out. So we can see now here now, the noun is going to last. So users put. So you can see sum is going to add up the column. Average is going to calculate the mean. So both run per group because the group by is there. So let's run this and you can see this. You can visualize this together. So here now we can see that Drew here now, right? Drew here now has 3 orders in total. And we can see the average of the 3 orders. And we can see the kind of number like the business usually like run. And the business needs. So we can see the noon is now last year now, which is Morgan, that has no revenue. Right? So no values result to actually sort itself default to none in the value like that. So it's more detail that makes a big difference in the results. You should also keep note of that. But what if you want to have a different filter group with this? How are you going to do it? So one thing we should do is that we can select from users.name right here. So let's say I just want to have some. Then I want to have some other total spent. So I'm just going to come here now and let's erase this for now. Then I want to select from users. I want to have inner join. Then I want to have inner join. Then I want to join others. Then user.id. This is still all right. Equals to others.user underscore id. Then I want to have group by users.id, then users.name. Before I now come to this, let's add this. Having some orders.total is greater than. So we want to have where the orders.total is greater than 50. So we cannot have this now. So I'm just going to remove this for this instance. So right now we can now, okay, now we can see having is where for groups. Like you cannot use where to filter on an aggregate, right? So when it comes to group now, having is what we substitute for where, and that's why we're having here. So instead of us using where, we're having here instead. So having runs after now. So where runs before the aggregation happen, but having is going to run after. Right? So this tree is simple now. Filtering an individual rows value with where, but filter aggregated values with having. So you should be able to differentiate between where and having right now. So if you try to use where here instead now. So let's say you try to use where here. So we have it this way now. You can see this is an error because aggregate functions are not allowed to use where. So when you're working with an aggregate function, you cannot use where. This is a real error that you can eat, but now you know exactly what is happening and how you can fix it. So now let's quickly look at minimum and max, right? This is part of the aggregate values that we used to work with, right? So I'm just going to come here and say, right here, we want to have something like min and max, right? So we want to have minimum and max here. Now we can just say, okay, right here now, we are going to say select, you know, to come here. So I can say select the minimum price, the biggest price. You'll say select min price, max price. Then we want to have the average price too. Right, you can say we want to select this from product and we want to print this out. So I should go ahead and run this now. So here now we can see that we have the minimum, we have the maximum price, and we have the average price, right? But if we want to say, let's say most expensive order per user now. So let's say we want to get like some users and want to see the most expensive orders per these users. So I'm going to run a particular query here. So I'm going to come here and say select now, then from users.name, then I want to have max. Then this max I want to have orders.total. So orders.total, now I want to have as okay, I want to have this name as biggest order. Right. Then I want to pick it from the users and I want to have an inner join. Right, don't forget inner join, which means we want every NULL to also be added, right? Then I want to have like orders dot as usual user.id equals to orders users ID. So we're going to group this by user ID and name. User ID. We are going to group this by name also. Then we want to have order right here by biggest order description, then in descending order. So we will not be need this semicolon here because we want to terminate our code right here. So now we can see that this is the biggest order for Drew, for Alex this is the biggest order, for Sam this is the biggest order, and for Jordan this is the biggest order. And you can see this is how it works, right?